Greetings, YouTube. Today I want to talk about the film Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Now, I'd actually meant to talk about this quite a while ago, but when I saw it on DVD, I'd been going through a rough spot myself, and I kind of mentally attached that rough spot with the movie. So I had to give myself a little time and distance to look at the situation a little more critically. And now I've decided I'm going to. So, I see this movie on two levels. One, as an homage to video games that are being interposed into real life. As in, if suddenly you found yourself living in a world where the tropes and such of video games were in reality, and this is kind of an homage to that concept. A wonderful way of looking at how video games have interjected themselves into the lives of many people. And in that regard, in the bright color, the over-the-top scenes, the fights, the battles, the special effects, the visuals, everything. It reminded me of the original Batman television series in many ways. Pow, piff, bam, and all of that was a lot of fun. It was a visual ride, and it was well done. It had a kind of a color palette that was almost simplified in some ways for me. It didn't look like reality, but it looked close to reality. As someone in the trivia section on the IMDb page commented, it was filmed as though it were a music video. I think that's a very apt way of describing it. And there are people out there who really love this movie. Go look at the trivia section on the IMDb page. It is huge. The number of reviews, like 342 reviews on this movie. Okay, there are a lot of people that love this movie. So, where I'm about to go now with these thoughts on this movie may make some people unhappy. Because I consider this to be an indictment of bad relationships. This film is one of the best examples I've ever seen of how people cannot process getting over their old relationships. That people do not possess functioning coping systems. And this film is an example thereof. And what do I mean by not having a coping mechanism? When you end a relationship, there's a grieving period. And when the grieving period is over, you can then move on. As anything in a grieving period, you will be reminded of that episode in the future. And a healthy person, having coped with it, will think about it, may get bummed for a moment, may get frustrated, may get angry again. They will let go of it quickly. And they will move on. They will not let that former relationship haunt their future relationships. They may learn from it, like I've decided that I don't want to date people that don't treat me well. Fine. That's a good thing. But a healthy person does not let themselves be haunted by a former relationship. And this whole movie is about people who can't cope. The main character, Scott Pilgrim, can't process his own life, can't cope with his own life, and so he's stuck in this limbo between childhood and adulthood. And even though that's kind of the theme of the film, it's not healthy. It's an example of how in our Western society we have no adulthood right. We never make a clean, distinct change from childhood to adulthood. And we need to do that, and we don't. But then he meets Ramona Flowers, who is probably one of the best examples of the manic pixie dream girl I have ever seen in film history. Right up there with Natalie Portman from Garden State. Now, while I find both of those roles visually appealing, and both the actresses in question, and how they were presented, and I enjoy the characters as individuals, and I say I might want to get to know them as people in real life, as they are presented in these films, they're just plot points. They're not characters. They're just there to move the main character's story along. And Ramona Flowers is a great example of that. She is a non-functional individual. She doesn't function. She doesn't cope with anything. Each relationship just stacks up on the one before it. Why anyone after the first relationship ever dated this woman is beyond me. Because when the first guy had a bad relationship with her, okay, everybody has a bad relationship in life. It happens. And the second person goes to date her. And the second person encounters the fact that she has not coped with the first relationship. That person should say, hey, you're really cool looking. You're interesting. I would like to date you. If you ever finish processing that first relationship, here's my number. And should have walked. But no. We have a series of people who are willing to do these silly hoop jumping exercises for her so that they can date her. And each one compounds the problem as she dates more and more people. She never processes any of the relationships. She never copes with any of the relationships. All these Herculean tasks put forth for Scott Pilgrim are all there so he can gain something, so he can win the girl, as opposed to actually having a functional relationship with someone. Now, I'll be completely honest here. I've never read the comic. I'm never going to read the comic. So I'm basing this on the film. So I'm looking at this as the film was presented me. So I have no comic canon to play with here. So telling me about the comic is not going to help in any way, shape, or form. I'm looking at the film, as a single, distinct entity. And in that regard, this is a testament to crappy relationships. Why would Scott Pilgrim do this? What gives him the idea that this woman is worth that much effort? Do rainbows radiate from her groin? Does he think that she's going to be the best lay in the universe? Does he see some beauty in her soul that the rest of us are not catching? But he's willing to do these silly-ass things because she can't get over her past relationships. I mean, would you date someone at the first conversation you have with them, they bitch about all the people they've dated before, or they talk about their former relationships? Would you want to date someone like that? Because that's the real-world version of this. Someone that can't get over their past relationships and keeps living them over and over and over again. Now, in the film, it's blown up into a Bollywood-style storyline. Fine. It's entertaining to watch. But the underlying reality is that this is someone who cannot cope. This is someone that cannot get over the past. That is being haunted by it. The past is a book. We can learn from it. We cannot change it. Obsessing about it is unhealthy. And Ramona Flowers not only obsesses about her own past obsessively, she gets everyone else to obsess about it. Everyone else enables Ramona Flowers in her effort to relive her past bad relationships again and again and again and again and again. For every sap that comes along and wants to date her in the future, has to go through this crap. And of course, she's got no structure. When the last ex shows up, he just sweeps her off her feet. Why? She didn't learn from any of the past relationships? She didn't remember that this guy did not work with her in a relationship? That they did not function as a couple? No, he comes in all charming and crap, and he just sweeps her off her feet and takes her away again. There's no substance in there. She's like a ghost. There isn't any strength of character in this individual. There definitely isn't any learning curve. So while I found this film visually interesting, and the storyline entertaining, and the female band member whose name I forget at the moment, I thought was very good. She made me smile quite frequently. And that, you know, the whole tagline, we're Sex Bomb, and then that lead into the songs, the really great riffs that goes into those music sections are awesome. A lot of fun. And there are a lot of people that love this movie. A lot of people that feel a deep connection to this movie in some level. But there are lots of people in the world that feel a deep connection to lots of films that aren't healthy. And this is one of them. People need to get beyond their own relationship for the old relationship where they start up a new relationship. You need to close one chapter of your life before you begin a new chapter of your life. If you're reading a book and all of a sudden the words from the previous chapter started interjecting themselves into the next chapter, you would just be confused. Well, there you have it, folks. That's what happens when you don't process a former relationship. It interjects itself into the one you're trying to process now, you're trying to build and trying to create, and it ruins it. And that's not healthy. And this whole film was about not healthy. About people not having healthy relationships. So, did I enjoy the film? Yes. Did I see it as an indictment of how the twisted manner that we don't process our old relationships? Also yes. I may be seeing something in this that many people aren't. I'm not sure if anyone else has beat this point the way I have, or have brought this point up before, because I have not researched reviews on this. So if anyone else can tell me that if someone else brought up the fact that this movie is a great example to people that have not processed their relationships, I would love to know. I hope I haven't pissed off too many people, because, again, visually and artistically I found this film interesting, but the underlying structure of people not doing what they should do to have healthy relationships bugged the crap out of me.